All right, this is BCSC's response for an armed intruder. It's a new procedure that we've started this year. And the reason we call it armed intruder is because we're recognizing that it might not just be, we typically think of a gun or a knife, or people are crazy out there. So when we say armed, it could be anything. So this is our procedure for what we would do if a bad guy were to ever come inside the school and try to hurt us. It's not a nice topic, but you guys, we feel like you should know what to do if this should ever happen. And it's like a fire drill. You know what to do in a fire drill. And a tornado drill. You know what to do in a tornado drill. And this is no different. We want you guys to know what you could expect, if there should ever be an armed intruder. But we hope we never have to use it, and we hope we never have to even talk about it again, honestly. This is different from a code blue or a lockdown. I know you guys are familiar with those terms. This is different from a lockdown in that this means someone has come inside the building. Let me give you the really quick Cliff's Notes version of a code blue lockdown. And that is in the 1980s in LA, they used to have drive-by shootings that happened sometimes. And when that happened, they would tell everyone to lock down or go inside the building. Okay? They would tell everyone to go inside the building when those things happened. And that was a lockdown, right? So that's very different from if someone comes inside the building to hurt us. So that's what we're talking about, is an armed intruder. And this is something... Yes, Theodore Roosevelt. Then that's okay. In any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing is the wrong thing. And the worst thing you can do is nothing. And this is all about doing something always beats doing nothing. If an armed intruder were to enter this building, the number one thing that you guys need to remember is that your teachers have been trained and that you can do whatever it takes to keep yourself safe. Okay? Your teachers have had training on this. They've got a more in-depth version of this. But ultimately, you guys can do what you need to do to keep yourself safe. If you're in a hallway where no one else is around, this is the reason you need to pay attention to these things. Is because, you might have to find a teacher. You might have to make a quick decision to get into a room or to do one of the three things, to run, to hide, or to fight. And we're going to go through each one of those steps. And the one thing that you guys should remember is to never, ever panic. So if we were to ever have a situation like this, we don't want you to go, oh my gosh, this isn't the time to put the arms in the air and run back and forth, right? This is the time to collect yourself and remember your training, right? Just like with your fire drills that we've done a million times and the tornado drills we've done a million times. This is the time to collect yourself and kind of revert back to your training. Your teachers will make a decision in that moment whether to run, to hide, or to fight based on what they're seeing, what's going on in the hallways, what they're hearing. If they're hearing noises that are not familiar to them, like maybe a gunshot or people screaming, or what they're being told. And that could be by you guys, if you guys see something, or if an announcement comes on the PA. It could come in a variety of ways. So the first option, now we're going to take some time to go through each one of the three options. The first option is to run. And your teachers will have already figured out a game plan where the closest exit's at. If one exit's blocked for one reason, can you go out another exit? And if both exits are blocked, they might have to break a window. But your teachers will have already figured these things out. This is really for your information and just so you guys know what you could expect. And after you exit, where will you go? And this is called a rally point. A rally point is essentially where you go and where we'll take attendance, just like you do in class, right? Where you'll take attendance so that we can account for everyone and know that everyone is there safe and sound. It's not necessarily the quickest route to the rally point that's important, it's about getting there safely. So if we had a rally point that was a short distance away, you wouldn't necessarily have to get there the quickest route. Your teacher might take you around the block so that we know that you can get there safely. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay. If you can't run, hide is your next option. And hiding is, it's kind of like what we used to do for, I told you this isn't a code blue drill, but this is kind of like a lockdown, a hiding is. And what you would do is your teachers would encourage you to help probably, and that would be shutting the lights out, closing the door, locking it, and hiding in some fashion. So if you were going to hide, the door's right here, right? And there's a little window. So if you were going to hide in this classroom, would we want to hide over here? No, that wouldn't make any sense. We probably want to hide along this wall right here, right? The same wall as the door so that anyone that was looking in would not be able to see people were inside. And then along with that, there would be some kind of barricade. Have you guys heard the term barricade before? Okay. There would be some sort of barricade that's done. And this is something that you would probably see under that circumstance. And your teacher will have already had this figured out. They are not going to be able to pull something out of their hat in that moment, right? So they will have already had tools in their classrooms or have a game plan as to how they would barricade that door so that no one would get into it. And that's really the important part of hiding, is having some sort of barricade so that someone cannot get inside that room. And your last option is to take some sort of action or fight. And this is, it's not like, we're not telling you guys to go home and, I don't want you to go home and tell mom and dad that here at the school we're teaching you how to fight and how to do some ultimate fighting exercise here. That is not what we're talking about. This is when a bad guy has entered your immediate vicinity and your last option is to take some sort of action to end the attack. And in this circumstance, your teacher would encourage you and give you direction as to how we can best end the attack. Okay? So this isn't, I don't want you to go home and tell mom and dad, Officer Q came in today and told me that I need to fight. Well, under this circumstances, whenever this is your last option, that's what we're talking about. I'm not talking about going home and hitting on brother or sister and saying Officer Q said it's okay, right? And why are we going to engage the intruder? Because this guy is not who you think he is. He is not the Terminator or whatever superhero we like to follow. This is not who we're looking at here. This guy is someone who has had not very much training. They're not training. Their goal is to come in and create as much havoc and hurt as many people as possible in a short amount of time as possible. So this isn't someone who's spent a great deal of time training and research into doing the task that they're trying to get done that day. Does that make sense? So this guy is very, very beatable, and it just takes doing something. You know, I showed you guys that quote in the beginning, that Theodore Roosevelt quote, and really it takes just doing something. And we talked about that in the very beginning, like 5 minutes ago. If you can do something, it beats nothing 100% of the time. Because if we just wait on the bad guy, if we were to, I'm going to back up a little bit. This message is no different than what you've been taught as little kids, right? Whenever you're a little kid, mom and dad told you from a very early age, they'd say, okay, if a stranger comes up to you or a bad guy comes up to you and they want you to come with them, they say, come here, little girl, come with me. I'll give you a really cool piece of candy if you come with me. You don't know me, I'm a stranger. Come with me. What are you going to do?
Don't go.
Good. Don't go. What are you going to do? Run?
Yell.
Yell? Make as much noise as humanly possible, right? Okay, so what now if that same bad guy comes up to you and tries to grab a hold of you, say, come on, little girl, come on, come on. Now I'm using some kind of force, right? Now I'm using some kind of force. Now what are you going to do?
Kick.
Kick?
Fight.
Bite?
Fight back.
Fight back, right? You're not just going to go with the bad guy, right? And it's no different when the bad guy has some kind of weapon or something with them that they're trying to hurt you with. The message does not change. And really, that's the main takeaway. This is easy for you guys to understand. You get it. You've been taught this as a little kid. This is just a lot more information with it than what you've had before now. So it is, in closing, it's a mindset. It's something that you have to think about ahead of time. You don't have to be scared about it. I don't want you to feel paranoid about it when you leave here and say, oh my goodness, I'm scared. You don't have to be scared because your teachers have a plan. We have a plan in place here at the school, and we're prepared. So you don't have to be scared because we are prepared for something like this. Go ahead, sir.
What happens if the guy is trained, like fighting, something like that?
We would have the same response no matter what. If we have the most tactically trained individual, it would still be the same response. But when I told you that, that's a bunch of mass casualty incidents that have been studied. All these incidents that have made the news that you know of because you hear about them so frequently, like on the news and in the newspaper. We know that that's how we have this information, is because we know that this guy is typically not your Terminator and then Diesel looking guy. Okay, this is a guy who has spent very little time training to do what they're doing. But if he is trained, we still have the same response, and that is what's going to increase survivability. We know that the bad guy is not going to waste time dealing with one group of people. They're on a mission to, this is not nice, but they're on a mission to hurt as many people as possible in a short amount of time as possible because they know the police are coming, right? So they're not going to say, okay, I'm getting that class no matter what. So I'm going to run out of this school and then I'm going to go outside and try, and what are the odds of them being able to find this classroom?
If we're just walking through the hallways going to our classroom and it comes across the announcements or something, do we just run into the classroom?
You would follow the direction of the teacher that's closest to you. So whenever you guys are walking through and passing periods, there's teachers outside, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to hear a message from them that they're going to say, come on, come on, come on, right? You're still going to be getting some direction. It might not be from a teacher that you have normally. You'll still be getting direction. You will know which way to go because you're going to have classmates and teachers going in a direction. And if you see your classmates and teachers running in a direction, what should you do?
Follow.
Follow.
If some of the students choose to fight back, but the teacher and the other students choose to hide or run, like, should those students follow the teacher or should they fight the intruder?
Excellent question. And in that circumstance, you would follow what your teacher is telling you to do because I told you that you guys get this presentation, but your teachers have a more in-depth training on this same information. So I'm going to tell you that you need to listen to what your teacher's telling you because they might have information that you don't have access to at that time. So always listen to what your teacher's telling you in the classroom. Your teacher will encourage you to do the right thing because, like I said, they've had this training and they know what to do.
Just more than one person.
That's a great question. If there's more than one bad guy, I will tell you that 98% of the time, there is only one bad guy. And all these mass casualty and horrific incidents that you might hear about on the news, 98% of the time, there's only one bad guy. And the other 2% of the time, they've never separated.
If that day there's a substitute.
Great question. And if there's a substitute, in that moment, whenever I talked about earlier about what you're seeing, what you're hearing, and what are you being told via PA or email or text message, that your substitute teacher would hear things going on, like in the hallway. It's not normal for people to run around screaming and saying, guy with the gun, or guy with the knife. right? So if your substitute teacher hears that, common sense tells us to go the way that those people are going, right? They're going to catch on to something's going on, and they will respond to it.